Hey, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Brand OTC or Brand Over the Counter, where we answer your branding questions with a faux over the counter product. Now, today's product is called StorySerum, and it injects storytelling into your brand. And so, if you're struggling with a flat, lifeless messaging or forgettable brand experience, if you have struggles with audience connection, lower conversion rates, or missed media and speaking opportunities, this is the episode that you definitely want to pay attention to because your brand might look good, but does it say anything meaningful? If your branding or your messaging feels bland, or maybe you're struggling to connect with your audience, this episode is your prescription. So let's get started. Hello, hello. My name is Cynthia Akita, and I am your brand strategist, designer, and educator here at the Design Firmacy. And today's question is, what role does storytelling play in branding? Now, I don't know about you, but I love me a good story. And I know maybe you're thinking, okay, does she really mean like to sit down and have someone read her story or read a book? But what you don't realize is a lot of the shows that we watch, the movies that we sit down and binge on, and all of those things, those are all stories. Why do we watch them so much? Why do we love them so much? Because it's just a part of life. It helps us to relate, it helps us to feel um, like we've been considered, like somebody knows our story, things like that. And so, why wouldn't she use storytelling and branding? It's a great tool. It is necessary. It is a great way to connect and to build relationship. I mean, when you meet someone for the first time, you probably tell them a story about yourself, right? Based on whatever topic comes up. I'm sure you share a story or they share a story, and it helps you to lean in closer because it's just so interesting and you want to learn more. You can relate, or maybe you know someone who's gone through the same type of thing. Storytelling is an amazing and vital tool. So, number one, why storytelling is a brand necessity and not just a bonus. It's because people don't really remember features, they don't remember all the bullet points, right? I mean, if someone, I don't know who specifically does this type of test, but if someone says, I'm going to read 3 points to you and I want you to repeat them back to me, you're probably not going to remember them, right? Not all of them. You may remember bits and pieces from each bullet point, but very rarely do people actually regurgitate, you know, everything that was said to them, right? And that's because we just don't remember those things. I'm sure you've heard the term or the phrase that, people don't always remember, what you say, but they remember how you make them feel. And that is so true. People remember feelings and they remember stories. They remember the things that they relate to. I know even for me, as I'm getting more into networking and getting to know people, I typically remember, a fun fact about them or a story about them in order for my brain to say, "Oh, hey, that was that person who did X, Y, and Z," or that was that person who went to Hawaii for their wedding, what do you call it? Honeymoon, right? Those are the types of things that help me to remember people along with the feelings that I felt when I met them. So, storytelling typically humanizes your brand and it makes it relatable. We only want to engage with people and things that we can relate to. And that's just the truth. I mean, how many of us have a friend where we don't have one commonality, like not even one? I don't know if it's possible. It may be possible. I don't think so. I think it would be really hard because what kind of conversations would you have if you can't even relate on one thing, right? So think about Nike. I love Nike so much. Their Just Do It campaign or the stories, commercials, and things that you see, you don't typically remember the shoes that they're wearing or the sports bra, or the pants, and all of those stuff, the tracksuit or whatever. You don't typically remember those things, right? But you do remember, maybe Serena dancing around and feeling free and having fun. You remember that, right? Or maybe you remember this, well, not specifically, I'm just fabricating here, but maybe it was a story about, a single mom who trained for a marathon, or maybe you saw an athlete who just did not want to give up, right? And maybe those stories resonated with you, but you didn't think about the product, the Nike product that they were wearing. You remembered their story and what they were working towards. And so storytelling is huge. It is so important. Now, the difference between a brand story versus just telling your story. When you're focused on just your story, there's nothing wrong with that. But the difference is that you're speaking more so just about you, right? You're not really bringing anyone else into it. It's literally your account because it's your story. That there's nothing wrong with that. It's literally about you. But when you switch into brand storytelling, it's more so about using your narrative to communicate value, purpose, and a transformation to your audience because that's what they can also connect with. It's one thing to tell your story, it's another thing to bring people into your story so that they can also see themselves in it and see that transformation is also possible for them as well. So instead of saying something like, I quit my 9 to 5 job, you could potentially shift it or reframe it so that you can say something like, I knew I wasn't the only one craving freedom, and now I help others create it through brand clarity or something, whatever it is, whatever industry you're in, you can kind of switch it up and make it so that your story helps other people see the transformation that they can also receive. Now, storytelling has psychology behind it. Your stories tend to excite the brain more than just facts alone. I mean, let's be honest. I don't know how many of us really liked history. I know history was not my favorite subject growing up. There was only one teacher that I had, Mr. Belanger, who actually made history exciting. Like everyone else, every other history teacher I had was literally just reading the book to us. And, it was just so boring for me. Like at that point, I didn't realize how important history was, right? I'm realizing that now as an adult, but growing up in high school and all of that, it was just so middle school, high school, it was just so boring for me. But, stories can activate your brain a lot more than just reading the facts that are in a book. Because it helps you to find, again, connection. Connection is everything. It increases that connection. It increases retention, your ability to retain the information and remember it. And it also increases trust. And trust is essential when you're building a relationship, which is what you're doing when you're branding. You're building a relationship. And so those stories help to shape how people receive whatever it is that you're putting out there. And your story gives your audience a way to see themselves in your brand and how you'll transform their lives and take them from point A to point B, which they so desperately need. So let's say you're a doula and you're telling a story, of a very traumatic birth experience. And, based on that experience, you now are able to help other people support them. And that will resonate a lot deeper than you just saying, I give birth support services where I help people with their births. Like people seeing the catalyst behind your building of your brand, you building your brand will speak volumes compared to you just saying, oh, I do X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, that's cool. Yeah. But the story will help them make that connection. And again, back to retention helps them to remember why you do things in the first place. So where can you infuse storytelling in your brand? Well, the first place, which I recommend, is your website's about page. If you don't have a website, go ahead and get that done. Yes, you still need a website in 2025. You will, I mean, I can't speak for the future, but I'm sure you will still need a website then too. At the end of the day, we all use Google to get information about the things that we're interested in. If you don't have a website, what exactly is Google supposed to pull aside from your social media pages? Your social media pages do not belong to you. Your website does. And your website is the space where you can literally do whatever you please that benefits your audience. So if you don't have a website, you need one. Go get one. So You can put on your website about page. Your about page is that page where you can literally open yourself up to your audience, tell them more about you, more about your brand. And there are no limitations. Literally pour it all out. Give them the story. You can do it in text form, you can do it in video form, but give them that story so that they can start building that relation, that connection, that retention, and then that trust. Another place is your Instagram captions. I know some people are averse to long captions, but a lot of people actually sit there and read it and enjoy it. We all love stories. We all love a plot line. And so use your captions to tell a story that can reel people in and push them to take that CTA or next step that you want them to take. Sales pages, another one. Sales pages, depending on the length of the sales page, is a great place for you to share a story. Because if you have a sales page, obviously you want them to get to you want them to take action, right? But how do you get people to take action if they're not connecting with whatever it is that you're selling? And so sharing stories there is a great opportunity for people to see themselves in that story and to see the transformation that can take place in their own lives based on how you tell that story. Emails are a great way as well. If you do email marketing, you should do email marketing. Should do. If that's something you're not doing just yet, you definitely want to look into that. I use Klaviyo. There are so many other tools that you can use as well. But emails are very personal. And it's an opportunity for you to really build that connection with your audience. And storytelling is a great, great way to get people into it. Like, get their attention, get them sucked into your story, and give them an opportunity to really get to know you and your brand. Pitch decks are great. I don't know if you guys have been a part of webinars, challenges, all the virtual things, and even in person as well. If somebody is doing a presentation, they're most likely going to insert a story because it's just a part of the psychology. If your audience can see themselves in you and see that you are the success and you're guiding them to that success that they also want to achieve, it is a great tool for them to move into that next step with you. And so pitch decks are a great way to insert your story as well. Product descriptions are great. Again, people are going to read them to get to know more about the product that you're selling. And so it's a great way to insert a story that helps them to relate and connect with you. And then testimonials are amazing for that because, again, testimonials help you to sell. They help people to see that you are credible, that you do what you actually say you're going to do. And so other people's stories and their account of their experience with you will also help to move the needle and build trust and all of those things. So, and another example I can give you is maybe you're selling a planner. Instead of saying, okay, well, this planner helps you stay organized, which is, very plain and basic, you could say something striking and alarming like, I created this planner after missing a deadline that cost me $10,000. And now it's helped over 500 entrepreneurs stay on top of their goals. Now, nobody, and I mean nobody, wants to lose $10,000, right? No one wants to lose any amount of dollars. And so that's something that they can relate with, to see the urgency in having this level of organization within their businesses, right? And so that's where, even in that case, you didn't even tell like the full story, right? I'm sure there's so many more details to that, but it gave a glimpse of what could potentially happen, if they don't take the next step with you. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a formula to craft your simple story that is going to convert. So when you're telling your story, you want to, one, identify the problem. So what were you or your customer struggling with? Or what are your customers struggling with? Or what were you struggling with? And then you're going to have the turning points. So what changed? Like, what happened that required a change from you? And then number 3 is going to be your transformation. So what was the result? What was the outcome? And what is now possible for your audience? So I'm going to say that again because I kind of got a little messed up. But number one, the problem. So, what was the issue for you, and what is the issue for your clients or your customers? What was the turning point? What was the point that changed things all around? And then, what did that turning point lead to? So, what was the result or the transformation? And what is now possible because of that transformation? So, an example is I used to feel invisible online, but after working with the design Firmacy, my DMs stay full and I finally feel confident in my message. All right. So, again, the problem, the turning point, and the transformation. And so, definitely write that down if you're not taking notes already and use that to tell your story. Because a storyless brand is a silent brand. And if you're not telling a story, your audience is making one up. And it might not be one that's in your favor. So, you always want to get ahead of the narrative. As you're building brands, it's very easy for people to kind of determine who you are on your behalf without your permission. And so take it or see it as a PR opportunity. They always say, get ahead of the story. Get ahead of the story when it comes to your branding. Don't let other people define it for you. You need to define it for yourself. So, I just want you guys to know, a little bit about why I started the design firmacy. I um I don't even know where to start. So growing up, I always had the desire to be a doctor. And it was mostly because my sister wanted to be a doctor and I didn't really know too much more. Initially, I wanted to be a teacher, but then I was like, kids are terribly disrespectful. I learned that in school. And I was like, there's no way that I'm not going to jail if I become a teacher. So I realized I couldn't do that. So I switched to pediatrician because I loved kids and I knew doctors made a lot of money, right? Because that's typically why people want to be a doctor. You know, it's up to you to decide, right? Excuse me. So, I did all the things, studied health for a long time from high school. We actually get to choose a path. And so I was on the health track. I did all the things, went to a health conference, and again, did all the things. I was very educated in health. I got to college. I was on the pre-med track, and I just was not doing well at all. I just couldn't. I knew, before I went to college, I knew I wanted to do some level of art. I mean, I had been studying art for years and years and years, spent my summers at the art museum. I taught art in middle school. Like everything about me was art and creativity and all of those things. But I knew I wanted to do that after I became a doctor because I thought I needed to have that security and income in order to follow my own dreams, right? But it became harder and harder to make it through school, knowing that this just wasn't what I wanted to do. Health wasn't really what I wanted to do. And so I started dabbling with fashion design. I taught myself how to sew and I had a very beautiful fashion line while I was in college. And that was more so for my mental health because college was really tough for me. It was really tough because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And so I got into fashion design, and that opened the door for me to really dig deeper into web design, which I was doing for fun, and branding as well. And so that was the avenue that led me into branding. And, I got out of school, later got married and moved to Dallas. And, I was still helping people with their branding and their businesses. And one of my friends said, hey, you should do this like as your job. And for some reason, I didn't think about that. And so when she brought it up, I was like, you're actually right. I should do that. And so, over the years working with businesses, I've seen so many people who were like me, maybe they are not big fans of their full-time jobs or, maybe they got into a specific field for the security, but it doesn't fulfill them. They don't feel fulfilled. And, maybe some may feel depressed a bit because they're doing things to take care of the bills, but then it's not really what they want to do. And that tugs at my heart so much because I've been there before. And for me, I'm a Christian. And so God was pushing me into entrepreneurship. He led me to leave my job. And it was not easy for me to do, but I found myself like dragging my feet to get to work. And while I was at work, I was just not okay. I was not myself. And I was finally disobedient after a couple months of disobedience. I was obedient and I left my job. And God opened the door for me to open up this business. And with this business, I really want you guys to focus on what you're meant to do. And for a lot of you, that's business. And I truly believe that if you would dare to put your branding first, you can compete against some of the biggest businesses that are out there just because you chose to put your branding first. And that is possible for you to have a business that you love, that you feel you're being purposeful in, that can actually take care of you and your family, all because you dare to put branding first and to follow your dreams. And that is so important to me that you're able to achieve that for yourself and for your family. Because who wants to spend their life being depressed in a job that they just don't like, that's not meant to fulfill them in any way? And I want that for you guys. I want you guys to be happy. I want you guys to be healthy, most of all, but by doing something that actually lights you up inside. And so, if I can help you do that through branding to help you set yourself apart, to help other people get their eyes on you, just because you chose to put it first, then I'm happy. I'm excited. And that's why I do this. So, I hope that helped you to connect with me just a little bit more. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. So, again, let's dare to put our branding first. Go ahead and take your Brand Vitals assessment if you haven't already at mybrandvitals.com, because that's going to pinpoint exactly what you need to work on to get yourself going in your business, in your branding specifically, in getting you to connect with other people and stand out against the crowd. So go ahead and take your assessment at mybrandvitals.com, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye. Discover what sets your brand apart, then say it with confidence. What's Your Secret Sauce is a free 3-day challenge designed to help entrepreneurs uncover the unique flavor that makes their brand unforgettable. Through guided prompts, live training, and powerful clarity exercises, you'll identify what truly sets you apart and how to communicate it in a way that connects and converts. If you've ever struggled to stand out in a crowded market or explain what makes you different, this challenge will give you the breakthrough you need. You'll walk away with your personalized secret sauce recipe, a clear, compelling blend of your brand's strengths, purpose, and positioning that makes selling feel natural. Join us by visiting brandmysecretsauce.com. You're doing all the things: posting content, updating your website, running ads, tweaking your offers, but still wondering, why isn't this working? Truth is, you might be focusing on areas that look productive, but aren't actually moving the needle. The Brand Vitals assessment helps you stop guessing and start targeting. It's like a wellness checkup, but for your brand. You'll gain crystal clear insight into the 9 essential areas every brand needs to thrive. No fluff, no filler, just facts about where your brand stands and what needs your focus. Because clarity is the first step to real momentum. And when you know where to focus, you start to see progress, not just activity. Get out of busy work. Get into brand building that actually works. Take the Brand Vitals assessment now. Have you tapped into your Firmacy benefits? As a beneficiary, you unlock special offers, gifts, and always stay in the loop. Subscribe today to receive your exclusive dose. Visit firmacybenefits.com.